Okay, welcome everybody. This is the second recorded episode of Southern by Design. I've been doing these live in the morning, but I like to stick these recorded ones in because it gives us time to slow down and I get to chat with some people that I'm just in love with or that I find interesting. So today we've got Kimberly, and her Instagram handle is Breathe with Kimberly, and I'll give you that information at the end. So Kimberly Rose, that's what you go by. I love that. It's so beautiful.
Thank
So
you.
tell me a little bit about your job, your career, your vocation right now, what you do, and how you help people.
Yes. Well, thanks for having me. I absolutely adore you. So, what do I do? How I help people? I get to wake up every day, and it took me a long time to get here, but I get to show people how to, and this is going to sound weird, but I get to show people through breathing, through breath work. It's just a real gentle breathing technique that we do in a session. And when people start to do this breathing pattern, it taps them into who they are, their gifts, why they came here, what they're doing here, their purpose, meaning, life. And it's very rewarding what I get to do. It's not easy, but I love guiding people and showing them, you know, their gifts and what they came here to do. And I actually help a lot of people with chronic symptoms as well. So it doesn't really matter where they're at. Just the right people find me at the right time when they're ready. When they're ready for transformation, they'll find me.
Yeah, that's so true because you were the first person that I trusted to do breath work with at all. I had heard of it. Yeah, of course, it's a very popular word, but I didn't trust anybody to lead me into that. And when I found you, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a soul that has, and I love that you have your heart necklace on right now because you have the biggest heart.
Oh,
And I
you're so sweet.
recognized that right off the bat. And I said, okay, I definitely want to try this. And you were the first person that I did that with. And I had some really amazing breakthroughs with the body connection. So tell everybody that's listening what that's like breathing first time people. Like how, you know,
Yeah, and I really appreciate that for you saying that because I do want to provide a really safe and open place for people to not feel judged. And when we can give you a really safe place to be seen and to be heard and just tell it like it is and just express what you've really needed to express for a while, then the body can start to heal itself. So I do work hard and I try to be as present as possible in people's breathwork sessions so they can dive super deep into the subconscious and into the stored emotions that are in the body. And I don't know if I answered your question. What was the question?
Yeah, you did. It's okay because we're gonna keep doing this. We're just gonna keep running rabbit trails.
Okay.
You were worried that we were like gonna run on and go way past an hour, and I was like, you know what, it's fine because this is all so good. It doesn't matter which trail we take. But
Okay.
something that what comes to mind is connecting down in with the body. With
Hmm.
when you're doing this for the first time, when you're breathing and you're starting to get the oxygen flow that you haven't received before,
Hmm.
there's a lot of sensations in the body. And I remember just feeling it was the first time that I allowed body to speak. And so do you have a lot of people that have, I want to say reactions because it's the first word, but a surprise, and kind of what can people expect if they've never done that before? What does the body start? What does it sound like, or what do you experience as the breath worker when people's bodies start talking to them?
Yeah. And what Ash might mean by that also is like when you start breathing and getting all the oxygen into the body, then all that stored stuff and toxins and past traumas and blah blah blah, it starts to gently move it out. So sometimes it can feel really scary to just take a few deeper breaths in. And so I just gently guide them with this really gentle breathing technique. And within just a few minutes, they may really start to feel something's happening, something's moving. Um, a lot of people, they start praying as soon as it happens because we're not taught to check in with our bodies. Like we're not taught most of us are not taught to just be like, wait, let me think about this real quick before I give you an answer. Something's off in my body. So I'm showing people and guiding them through these sessions to be like, no, let's just check in. Like maybe they get like their spleen is fluttering and it feels kind of cool. And it's like, wow, why is my spleen doing that? And maybe the oxygen is clearing something out in there that it's storing. It could be stress, worry, fear, whatever, or, like the kidneys in Chinese medicine story, fear, I believe. And so that's just, when you start feeling things and we're not taught that it's safe to feel things, most of us stay busy and keep running and keep going, or we numb out or whatever it is that we do. And I just love showing people that they can just take some time to hang out. Let's hang out in your body and just see what your body would like to say or what it would like to gently release. And you really don't even have to go in with any intentions. Just come hang out and we'll do some breathing, and it drops you in instantly.
Yeah.
It drops the soul in the body.
Yes.
Boom, you're here. And it's like, whoa, I can't believe where have I been for all these years?
Yes. I think we all live up in the mind. We're so logical and so analytical. We're always up in the mind. And the minute that we start breathing, it's like these sensations are here and like, oh, wait, there's stuff that goes on. And especially, I don't know if you feel like this as I'm a very, if you're into human design, the people that are listening, I have a very open chart, like down below the throat and down below the G center, it's open. Wow. It's undefined. So I don't have a lot of that gut feeling or the spleen.
Oh, you're so lucky.
I'm so jealous of everybody with the defined splenic center, because I'm like, gosh, I'll get like, y'all have feels and like gut instinct or whatever it is, root pressure center, all these things. Like it's very empty feeling for me. And so that's why it was so profound to be like, oh my gosh, I've been living very detached. Like you say, the soul is slightly out, just riding along, but you're not down in the body. And so that was one of the steps. It was breath work and emotion code. That was the catalyst that broke me. And I'm so glad it did. Broke me from the old person. And I want to say there was other things like bioresonance or bioenergetics, quantum work. Like I got all into that whole mess at the same time. But the breath work, I feel like it's right in front of our face. It's so stupid easy that we have this free tool.
Yeah, I know. And after my first breathwork session, I sat up. I was like 22 years old. I'm almost 40 now. And I'm like, why has no one showed us this? Breathing, like this was better than church. There's no answer that I could get from a priest or a preacher or a psychiatrist. There was nothing. When I started breathing, it tapped me into my knowingness, and it was like God was through the breath talking to me for a full hour. Just like all the shame and all the guilt was releasing from my childhood. And like I always had people holding me back, and I couldn't like just be myself. And so when I did my first breathwork session, I was like it's okay to be me. Like I'm safe. Like I don't have to hold myself back to please all these other nuns and people, because I was raised with nuns. So it was just coming out of me, and forgiveness. It was just like, it's okay. Just forgive the nuns. They didn't know any better. It was just, it blew me away. And I was like, everyone needs to know this. They have, and it's for free. Like just all you have to do is show people. And once they do one session, they have it for the rest of life. And I think that's my biggest passion and purpose here, is to show people this, because it's not easy being a breath worker, and a lot of breath workers quit because it's hard. You have to face your crap. You have to constantly face and show up no matter how you're feeling, and it's not easy. And you don't make a lot of money when you first start out. It's very hard. And but God just kept saying, just keep going. I got you. Just ask for what you need and I'll bring it. So I've always asked for what I needed, and it's always manifested itself. So I haven't, I just didn't need that much, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's so beautiful because you have a trust there. It's like you having being there and being committed to helping and serving people, you're always taken care of. I love that.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so rewarding, and it gives me life and meaning and purpose. And, I have a really fun and beautiful job. So I love what I do.
I will say that I'm not like in a practice. Like when people practice yoga, they get up and they exercise. They have like a routine. I don't have a routine of breath work, but I will tell you this. I worked with you several times, and I still to this day, if there is something where I have a lot of anxiety or tension or something in the body, I will feel that there's like a gentle little reminder. It's like a little computer virus got planted in it. It says, take a deep breath or take 3 deep breaths. And I'm like, oh yeah, the breath, I'm holding it. And so
Yeah.
even though it's not something that I do consciously every day, like let me sit down and do some breath work, it's still there. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, so many months and months. And I guess it's been years since I've known you now. Um, it's still there. It's like you're holding your breath, you're holding the
Yeah.
tension. Oh, okay. It's just
Oh, that's so
amazing.
great. And that's like my intention. I'm like, because people come in and they're like, how often should I do this and this and that? And it's like, just take a few deep breaths through the day. That's it. Like,
Yeah.
don't create a whole big to-do list. You already have enough on your plate.
Yeah.
Just when you're stressed or mad or angry or sad, just take 3 deep breaths. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. So something I'm curious about, just because I love being curious and asking people random weird questions, but what's been the most profound client? I want to say transformation, but or maybe experience, but what sticks out in your mind of all the years that you've breathed people? What is 1 or 2 examples of where you're like, if I just have to tell this story?
Well, how triggering can I get?
I'm here for it.
Okay.
I have gate 29, which is like going to the depths of the bottom of the
Okay.
ocean.
Well, I'm being shown about the woman whose husband just died, and before she somehow we divinely found each other.
Yeah.
And her husband had died and she couldn't get out of bed for a month. And so she was even afraid to call me. So she had her best friend call me. And she's like, "Hey, do you work with people with grief?" And I said, "Oh yeah, bring it on." You know, um, this was years ago, but I just said, "Bring it on," even though I just know that no matter what, the breath and the breath work, it'll help people through.
Yeah.
So I've never not seen it work. Um, so this woman, she warned me before she came out. I said, "Come and do an in-person session if you can." And when I talked to her on the phone, she was shaking like this, and I've been in bed for a month, and my husband died, and she couldn't even breathe. I mean, her body was
Yeah.
she was
She
in
was holding
tremble. She
it.
was
Yeah.
trembling. Yeah. She goes, "I don't even know if I can make it to your house, but I'm going to try." And somehow she made it to my house. I think she had her son drop her off, and I had to take her up the stairs into up into the room. And I had to hold her all the way up the stairs. She was just vibrating and shaking like this fast. And so
Yeah.
it's pretty scary.
Yeah.
And anyway, and then she thought, like, is this devil work? Like, what is this? I get that a lot. I'm like, no, no, no. We're gonna pray and we're gonna just we're just gonna give you a safe place, kind of thing. And I mean, within 60 minutes of just doing the breath work, she was standing up. She was speaking clearly she was in her body. She wasn't trembling or shaking anymore. I held her arm and her hands and shoulders. I just let her know that I was there. Um, and, and she quit drinking. She quit her prescriptions. Cause in the session she was shown, like, you don't need that.
Yeah.
And, and it was just really, it took her, it blasted her. Like, it was like a whole new person. I wish I would have taken before and after pictures.
Yeah.
That was really miraculous to see her. I had to carry her up the stairs and she was walking down the stairs just fine afterwards. So that's a pretty like intense story. I have a lot more.
Yeah.
If anything comes to you, interrupt me.
No, I love that. This is my hope, is that somebody one day finds this and they're in a spot like that. And
Mm-hmm.
instead of going into the dark, even deeper into depression, maybe suicidal, they're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I heard this one person could do it. Maybe that'll work for me. That's like my
Mm-hmm.
whole intention is like, I want
Yeah.
to nourish the body, care for the spirit, care for this, all this. And breath work is a beautiful expression of that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's so loving and gentle. So that's why I like this type of breath work. Another quick story would be, like, a lot of people get stuck and they can't like organize their things in their house, or they can't move to a new job that they really want to do or start a business. whatever's going on. They're just like stagnant for months and months, like nothing's moving and I'm tired of this energy. So I get a lot of people like that. And usually within a few hours or a few days after a breathwork session, it's like blast off. Their whole, and sometimes I might not hear from them for months, and then they'll reach out and say, "Oh, I forgot to tell you what happened. All these doors opened right after the session, and I started this, or I went this way, or bought a house here, or someone gave me $20,000, like stuff like that. It just really moves that stuck, stagnant energy, and like you can't get out of it, and it moves them through it really gently and loving. Talk about nourishing. Breathing is nourishment for the body and the mind and the soul. So I have a lot of stories like that where people just blast off and I don't hear from them for a while.
What's coming through for me is that, and because this is what my goal is with people, is to let the little valve of the throat box open so they can talk, to let that, you're talking about that little block. There's a pause or a moment right before that block where everything is just stuck. It just keeps bumping up against the block. So what I like to do is have people talk, because that's my thing, right? And that's one way to do it. But what you're given is another option. It's like we can just bypass that if you're not sure what to talk about, because a lot of this stuff is stored. It's like subconscious or unconscious, whatever. And the breath work is like a valve, not of the throat, but just of the body. And the stuff that they don't know is all being released. So it's just a different valve, really.
Yeah. And you don't even have to think about anything or change anything about you. If you're into chakras and all that stuff, mind, body, spirit, meridians in the body, you're from the top of your head down into your toes. It's the oxygen is clearing out, balancing all the chakras, the meridians. It's working on so many levels, and maybe after the session, then you realize like, whoa, where did all that stress go? Or, but it's just doing so much. You really don't have to have an intention, just show up for the breathwork session. And, maybe I ask a couple questions like, hey, how's it going? Tell me what's really going on in your life. And then the session
that brings it
starts.
up. That just brings it up to their mind so that they can sit with it.
Yeah. So they don't, you don't have to know what to work on or anything like that. It's just when you start breathing, the body knows like, oh, okay, I'm going to work on this and I'm going to work on this. And it's like this fun ping pong table of body sensations, but really gentle. This type of breath work is gentle. There's a lot of trending breath work going on right now. So you have to be careful what you choose. Just find what works best for you. But this type is gentle, yet very transformative.
Yeah. I've seen some crazy stuff out there. I know you know what types. I don't know the types, but I've seen some of that.
Yeah.
It is catchy, and you want to watch it and you want to say like, ooh, that looks like there could be a lot of power in it. There could be a lot of change, but I love the way that you do it, because you can experience all that without the drama of the body. It feels like the body is going through a lot.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, other breath workers that, you just to each their own, but you don't have to do things hard to get a lot of value. You don't have to do it the hard way. And there's a lot of different breath work out there that's really fast and hard. And when things are pushed and fast and hard, my body contracts. And you can't heal in that like fight protection mode. So the type of breath work that I'm doing, that I'm teaching, is so gentle. You can just feel the subtle shifts. You can feel the body releasing. And it's like the most loving, it's like, oh, I love myself. Oh, I shouldn't be so hard, and it's not like your body's forming into something crazy and it's out of control. But there are people who like doing that type of breath work, which is fine. But this is way more gentle.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so you said the keyword nourishing. I want to know some ways, and this is going to go twofold, so you can pick. I want to know ways that you nourish yourself. But the second part is, I want to know what has happened in your life where you weren't nourishing yourself and you got depleted, because you are the one that is holding the space for these people. And I know that it demands a lot from you, from your mind, body, and spirit. So is there places, and you've noted like there's some years or months where you're like, oh gosh, I was going down because I didn't nourish myself?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I think about that like every day. especially like with how busy and how stressful life can be. I'm constant every day I'm thinking, okay, am I being gentle? Do I need to get a breath work session in this week? I'm just doing the best I can, but oh, there's so many moments. Oh, I mean, years and years of not nourishing myself and just going full throttle, and you're trying to get this work out there, but you're eating fast food and drinking and smoking, and you're doing all these things. So I mean, I probably spent the first decade of doing breath work totally not nourishing myself, trying to get this work out there and working 2 or 3 jobs outside of this. Um years and years of not nourishing myself.
And you're a
Yeah.
non-sacral, like you're a projector, so you don't I'm amazed that you were holding multiple jobs and how you
Yeah.
didn't just fizzle out and burn out really.
Oh, I'm sure I burn out, but oh, it was awful. I mean, having 2 or 3 jobs, it's just the worst. I mean, I was living in California, so you have to have 2 or 3 jobs just to survive there in like Santa Barbara. It's really expensive. But I was so happy there. I didn't care, it gave me so much energy to be in that town. I didn't care if I had 2 or 3 jobs because it was worth it to me. And then you can go to the beach, at the end of the day, or but those moments of, yeah, nourishing, I would go to the beach, I would go hiking. Um, Now when I nourish myself, I take naps. I love to take naps. I go grab a juice. I do get an hour of breath work in every week, whether I trade or hire someone, because I don't know what happened in the last month, but I don't know why I'm just, everything is so elevated, and I need it. And I'm training a lot of people now, and I'm working with more people than ever. And so I'm like, I got to keep clearing this stuff out, because I'm working with, heavier and heavier traumas or stories, or, and the number one thing as a breath worker is God's the breather, the divine is the breather. And so I get energy when I do breath work with people. I don't get zapped. The only time I get zapped is if I'm taking on their stuff. I try not to take on people's stuff. I think I'm doing a pretty good job of it. Like, I don't let it affect me, but there might be something kind of sneaking its way in. But I do just take naps and go for walks and all that stuff.
Yeah. Have you had to give yourself permission over the years? Do you feel like you kind of fight against I keep calling it microwave society, but it's like the
Mhm.
workforce. Everything
Yeah.
is work and force. Did you have to give yourself permission to take naps and give yourself permission to go grab
Yeah.
a green juice or something like that?
Yeah. It's probably taken the last 15 years to really learn that lesson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like now I don't care. I don't feel bad taking naps. Um, I know that, so there's times when I'm booked out for a while and it's like constant go, go, go. And then if there's like a week gap, nothing's going on. Now I know, like, that's your week to rest. So it's taken me a long time to learn that lesson. Like, hey, God's got you. You don't need to make money this week. You need to recharge and reset. So I now know the ebbs and flows of owning my own business. And when I have a week off, I take that week off now. And that's taken me a long time to get there.
Dude, that is profound and beautiful. And if I could snip out anything, it would
Yeah.
be that. It would be like,
Yeah.
just know that there's something coming, and God's like, you need a little
Yeah.
rest.
You need to
Yeah.
rest,
But
especially like with all the people that we're helping.
yeah.
We need as much downtime as possible. So
Yeah.
my thing is, I'm like, God, just book my schedule out how you feel it should flow. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite a practice, because I mean, even like 2 months ago, I had like a whole week off, and I'm like, what am I gonna have to go get a job? I've worked 16 years for this, and I'm gonna have to go get a job. And it's like, no, 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 just calm the F down, girl. Just rest. Like,
Yeah.
you're breathing more people than ever. I'm doing private sessions and group sessions, and I'm all over the place. And it's like, rest. And so I finally, it's like, no, you already know that the money is going to come in. Or sometimes I test God. I'm like, okay, God, if you want me to rest, have someone book one session, just one. And it's been my sign that I'll take the rest of the week off. And then usually within a few hours, someone will book a private session like for 2 weeks out. And then, so so I'm like, okay, I'll give myself a break. But
Yeah.
it's a tug of war. It's a struggle. I mean,
Something that came up while you were talking, and I wonder if you find this to be true. I wonder if you appreciate your own success. I
mm,
wonder if you take time, because I'm very achievement and goal oriented too. And I wonder if
mm,
you appreciate in the moment how your business is thriving, or if you're still like, oh, because it sounds like that. You're like, wait, I'm not doing something right, or there's a space. You're like,
yeah,
yeah,
I'm
like you've come a
constantly,
long way.
yeah, I'm constantly trying to make things better and, tweak things and move things. And, like, how can I get this out there? And what happened this last month, my boyfriend and I were going to buy a house together, and we had to get all of our taxes and all of our stuff together, right? And prove income. And, I'm self-employed, and it's just a different experience when you're self-employed, right? And it was so funny because I think that happened. We had some hangups, and I think the hangups happened because I've had to go, and you already know. I mean, I have barely hung on by a thread for so many years, and I'm lucky that I always had a roof over my head and food in my belly and gas for my car. But um, I've had to just giddy up and go, and I haven't had time to appreciate how far I've come. So when I looked at my taxes, and even from last year to this year, or 2021 to 2022, I had no idea I was doing what I was doing. And I was like, oh, I'm doing so good. I had no idea, because the money comes in and it goes, and it just, and I'm like, oh my God. And so like that moment, just, it's kind of like one of those God things where it's like I was being shown that I'm doing really good, and I'm finally making it. And I get to help people. So it's like, wow, oh my God, that took a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, the last 20 years. But that, yeah, I am, that's something I'm working on, is trying to enjoy every comment, every moment. I get people who write me daily, like, your free breathwork session changed my life. And I just breathe in those comments, because that helps me keep going. And but yeah, it's something I definitely want to work on more, is just like, to people in my hometown, I'm just a loser and a hippie. And, and
Yeah.
it's like, I don't have a nice car, and I don't have a big fat ring on my finger, and I don't have, a big, nice house like everyone else does who's more established at my age. I'm just now making it. So it's like, but I've got to travel the world and help people and whatever. Anyway, and so I've been really hard on myself, because I don't have a normal life like most people.
Yeah.
I've been on the road and traveling and couch surfing and just trying to get this work out
Mm.
there. Yeah.
Okay. Something
So
good came through. So you mentioned, like, all right, let me set it up. Even Jesus couldn't perform miracles in his town. That was the way it was said. And when
mhm,
you're doing the work that you're doing in a small town, everybody knows your history and knows your family. Okay, that's pretty difficult. That's difficult for anybody.
yeah.
And I remember you saying one time that you hadn't even thought about doing an online course or whatever. Like when the online stuff happened, and I guess it was 2020 that did it. That was the catalyst. But that probably changed everything, did it not? Like
Oh yeah.
opening up to, I can do this
Uh,
online.
yeah. But this is what's really interesting. I started doing Zoom and phone and Skype sessions like 2010. So I was doing the internet thing, and I was telling other breath workers, hey, you can do these sessions over the phone. You don't need to do it in person. Because I was traveling up and down the West Coast, and like at $30 in my account and like making enough money to get gas and food and go to the next spot and the next spot and group sessions and like donations welcome. I'm just on the road trying to get this out there. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way. Please help me find a better way. And then God's like, do it over the phone, do it on Skype. And then Zoom came out. And then, so I was already doing it that way, but thanks to COVID and all that, people were like, I mean, I used to drive from Oregon down to California just to do a session with someone. Like, it's okay, I'll drive there. So, and I'd spend a whole like week or two down in Cali breathing people. And I don't have to do that anymore. I can, you know, like COVID made it so people are like, no, I don't want to see you in person. And okay.
So it was the public that joined in the idea of online breathwork sessions. It was everybody was doing everything online.
Everyone,
you were already set up for it.
Yeah, I was already, and so I was used to it. And so you know, it took me a while because I don't like doing it on Zoom. I like doing phone sessions. But now I'm so used to doing it on Zoom. You know, it's kind of nice. It's nice to see someone but yeah, so that thanks to everything in 2019, 2020, I'm so grateful because I get to work every day from home and I'm so grateful.
Okay, you said a keyword earlier that I wanted to circle back to, and it was the nuns. I don't know your nun story, and I feel like I need to know what that's about.
Okay. Well, I was raised in a Catholic, very strict Catholic school. All my teachers were nuns. My dad's fifth grade teacher was his fifth grade teacher. I mean, she was like almost 90 when she was teaching me. That's how old she was. And like old school ruler nuns, you know, put your hands out, slap you on the ruler. And so they were really scary, very scary. You know, people are like, oh, I had a really good experience with nuns. I'm like, you're lucky. I had an awful experience. Shame, guilt, you know, you're going to hell. Don't have a boyfriend, you know, just everything you did was wrong and bad. You just like, I never thought God loved me because that's not what they taught.
Yeah.
You know, it's very kind of cultish, really. And so of course I was like, I thought school was total BS. And I'm like, why are we here? I'm not going to use this. And I just knew like it wasn't for me. And so I was kind of the rebel in the class. I was always the girl who got in trouble. And I rebelled. I didn't listen to the teachers. So I was like, I'll have someone else do my homework. Like I was just a little shit. But so I got in trouble more because I rebelled and I didn't listen. And you know, wherever my weaknesses were, that's where they would poke at me. You know, I couldn't read very well. I was horrible at math. Couldn't play I can hear music and play music by ear, which is a gift, but I couldn't read the notes. So they'd shame you for not being able to read the notes, you know, just everything I tried to do. It was just shame and guilt. So that's kind of my upbringing with nuns. Just, it was awful. And then not to mention once a week, you have to go confess your sins to the priest who is, you know, doing some things behind the scenes. Yes. So it was, I mean, I'm very grateful that we were raised that way, but oh my gosh. And then a lot of it, the nuns always talked about, you can heal yourself, but they always looked sick, like something that, like you just pray to Jesus and you'll be healed. And it's like, well, I was always praying, but something was always wrong with me or I was always sick. So they didn't have proof to what they were saying. So it's kind of like, it kind of set my whole life up for how can I heal myself and how can I heal the body? If you can heal cancer and all this stuff, like the nuns are saying. And so you know, it was all just part of it, which brought me here to now, but.
Yeah. And do you not feel, we can't know, but do you not feel like as a projector, this particular type can see through all the bullshit because we can see into people, like our auras are pointed, so to speak, and so we can dive in and you can see all the corruption where you might be look around and say, why are all these other people that are related to the school administrative assistants or other parents or other adults, like why don't they see through this BS that I can see?
Oh gosh. You know? Yeah. And I was always like labeled as stupid or whatever. in the class, but I mean, really, I was probably the most aware.
Yeah.
I would, I knew, I saw what was going on, but I didn't have a voice. You couldn't, if you ever spoke up, you got in trouble, cone on your head, like they put a cone on your head and put you in the corner. And yeah, I just saw through it. And as soon as I got a car, as soon as I turned 16, I started going to a non-denominational church, like instantly. And then I haven't been back since.
Yeah. Um, I'm reminded of a story, and I would love to get this other girl on, and I'll just tell you like a brief snippet. She went to a church that was, she said, kind of Amish up in like Pennsylvania, and all of the people in the church were the teachers. And so it was like you can't escape that idea of like you're sinning, you're doing wrong. So when you have
Mhm.
the church mixed in with school,
Mm.
it just feels like spaghetti to me. It's
Yeah.
like you can't, it's not that you want to escape school or church, but the idea that it's all tied together. The same people are, punishing
Oh,
you for your
yeah.
education or punish you for your spiritual whatevers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
Um,
I wanted to die all the time. I just wanted, like, God, please take me from this planet. I hated it.
yeah. And you can't because you're a kid and you feel trapped. So,
Mhm.
um, gosh, okay. Speaking of trapped, go back even further. Did you, because you and I have talked about this, and we've got a couple minutes here. I want to talk about the birth trauma thing, because we've
Mm.
got childhood trauma, and we can all kind of piece that. We can remember bits. And even if we don't remember, somehow they start crawling back out by things our parents might say, well, you went through this as a kid and you kind of blocked it out, whatever. That's the childhood stuff. But you also are pretty educated on the birth trauma. So can you speak to that?
Mhm.
Because that takes a whole different level to this unfurling and unwinding of our dramas.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things. I don't get to talk about it too much, because it's quite triggering. I mean, I'm taking you back to your first breath of life, and um, if you were separated from your mom as soon as you came out of the womb, if they strapped you down to circumcise you, I mean, it's quite triggering, that transition. If you got stuck in the womb, you might feel stuck in your life. If you had to be pulled out with forceps, you might kind of do your thing in life and then get stuck, and then you have to be pulled, or you're pulled in all different directions. And there's so many layers to this. And that's one of the stories I was going to say. You're like, share a breathwork story where it really helped someone.
Yeah.
One woman, she came in and she came to do a breathwork session. 2 days prior, she tried to commit suicide and her wrists were slit open. Well, she's tried to commit suicide quite a few times in her life. There's just a lot of heavy death energy. And I'm like, well, come try it. Maybe it'll work. And so she came, and as soon as she started breathing, she basically um just kept saying, they're trying to kill me, they're trying to kill me, they're trying to kill me, for like a full hour. And I thought, oh my gosh, I wonder if she's a failed abortion. And
Ooh.
so I waited till she was done, and then boom, she came out of the session. She's like, I want to live. Oh my God, how can I feel like I want to die and they're trying to kill me? And then now I want to live. Like, that's amazing. I feel so good. You just saved my life. I mean, that was a huge turning point for me with taking breath work to the next level.
Yeah.
And really getting it out there. And I was like, girlfriend, this is going to sound so weird, but did your mom try to abort you at your birth, or like when she was pregnant with you? And she's like, yeah. And in the back of an alley, and it was a failed abortion. Like, it was like the whole coat hanger thing, I guess, story. And so, like, 2 or 3 months later, uh, her mom's like, oh my gosh, there's the baby's still in there. They thought they got the baby out.
Ooh.
And so, or that they, yeah. And so, because I thought, wow, why is she saying they're trying to kill me? They're trying to kill me. And she was just vibrating and shaking. And it was really, it was a very traumatic session, actually. That rarely happens, but when it does, it's pretty wild. And so talk about going back to the birth. I mean, so the point of it, in most traditional therapy, they don't take you, they just take you back as far as you can remember as a kid. But this, we go back to your conception, if you were planned or wanted or not wanted, or an accident, or oops, we're pregnant, let's get together because we're pregnant with this baby, and all the layers of it. And so when you're in the womb, we're learning everything. We're learning everything from our mom. We're learning brain patterns, our thoughts. We're just downloading information in the womb. And sometimes thoughts are positive and sometimes they're negative, and same with patterns. And so this helps to unlock those patterns. It's like, why do I do that? How come I show up really early to things? How come I show up really late? So patterns with time, if you were born on time, if you were born early or late, you're going to have certain patterns with time. So it's really cool to kind of be, before I found breath work, I'm like, why do I do this? Why do I do this? Like, this is a pattern that I have and I keep doing it, and it's like insanity.
Yeah.
And when I started asking those questions, that's when I started figuring out. And then, so there's certain moments when you're in the womb, it's kind of like a timeline.
Yeah.
And when those triggers or those things happened, let's say a dad cheats on the wife when he's in the womb, or someone dies while you're in the womb, or whatever. So there's certain trigger points that starts getting programmed into the baby's brain.
Yeah.
And the baby can carry those things its whole life and just recreate. They talk about the sins of the father get passed down, or curses from the family get passed down. Well, when you start unlocking the birth stuff, like, I'm sure people have seen their kids do the same shit that they did, or experience, the same story that I went through as a kid. She just recreated that. And so it helps to undo that.
Yeah.
And for example, my nephew won't mind that I share this. It took my sister a few weeks. She was really young and she got pregnant, and it took her a few weeks to decide if she was going to get an abortion or not. And so it's really cool to watch my nephew, because it takes him like 3 or 4 weeks to figure out, yes, no, yes, I'm going to do it. No, I'm not. Oh, I'm scared. Yes, I'm going to do it. And so his brain, because it took my sister 3 to 4 weeks, like, okay, I'm going to keep the baby. So it takes my nephew about that amount of time to figure out if it's a yes or a no. So I'm like, hey, you already know this is kind of like a pattern. Just give yourself that grace and that time. Give yourself 3 weeks or 4 weeks to figure it out until it's a yes or a no, you
Yeah.
know? So stuff like that. So
Given
it's really,
permission to have time to figure things
yeah,
out is a blessing.
yeah. And we, let him know that he is loved and he is wanted, so he's got to work through all the unwanted. No one wants me, he had to work through that. Like we all do. We all have those moments where we don't feel loved and wanted. And
Yeah.
so, relationships, money stuff, all kinds of stuff. We're just downloading it in the womb.
Yes.
Trust,
100% agree with that.
trust. The doctor is your first touch in life. And at my birth, the doctor hurt my neck really bad. So I've had to really work through some trust issues with men. I've always thought men are out here to hurt me. I haven't attracted the best mates in the past. There's so many layers to it. I hope I'm not overwhelming you.
No, you're not. I'm here for all
So,
of it. I'm like, we can break out through each one of those lines.
oh yeah.
But I will say the work because I did the birth work with you. And
Mhm.
one of the things I discovered wasn't that I had no idea about, but it wasn't in the actual delivery, but it was after, like a month after, was back then in the 80s that the doctors would say, just put your baby in the crib and let her cry to sleep, and shut
Mhm.
the door and cut the light off and it'll go to sleep. And my mom did that. And I have a lot of like, I didn't know that was a thing for me, this
Mhm.
separation. And of course, I think she even said in the labor and delivery, we were separated. So there's a lot of like, I have to fend for myself and I have to be independent and take care of myself because nobody's going to do it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
but people don't think about these things. Like it's so subconscious. You
Yeah.
don't even know it. But then just to have it, you bring that up and you asking the questions and then working through it. It's a relief. And it's kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, that's why.
Yeah, it is a relief. And like, that's like separation anxiety from birth. And I have a whole chart list on that. And it's amazing when it's like, because when I was a little girl, I would act that out. I would act out the separation from my birth. I would play house, and then my mommy was in the hospital sick. and I was bawling my eyes out because the separation. And that's what happened. My mom did get sick when I was born, and we were
Mm.
separated. And so, if you ever want to know where like deeply rooted depression or any of your deeply rooted symptoms that you've always had, go back to your birth with me and we'll start to gently unlock it. And like one woman, her grandpa died while she was in the womb. So her mom was grieving his
Oh,
death for
yeah.
like 3 months. And this chick, she cannot kick depression. Like she's only done one session. I'm like, hey, let's keep going in there. But she doesn't, some people like living with their stuff.
They're
So,
not ready. Yeah.
but yeah, they're not ready or whatever it is. So, she still to this day is carrying her mother's grief from the grandpa dying. So
Yeah.
like that, like we can carry and, stuff from that far back on a
Yeah.
cellular level.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know how we do it. I don't know how we hold on to it, but we know all of this. Our body knows. It's our logical
Mhm.
mind, our intellect, our smarts don't know, but our self, our body and our self knows, whatever you want to call it. Soul, maybe is a good word
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
I can't explain it, but I totally know that we carry the generational junk and then I guess, pregnancy, being in the womb. We carry all that and we have no idea. And then not to
Yeah.
mention the stuff that happens in our childhoods.
Yeah. It can
Um,
go really deep, and there's a lot of different types of births out there. I have like, I don't know, 22 downloads for 22 different birth traumas. So,
yeah, we were talking about that this morning on my Instagram live, and we were talking about the it's almost a crime the way that we deliver in hospitals, and the cold hands of a
mm,
cold-hearted man is the first thing instead of, that your baby experiences, instead of a loving, big, plump, beautiful midwife type healer woman of the tribe,
uh-huh.
like welcoming the baby, and like there's ceremony around it. And like, what do we have now? It's like prick it, wash it,
Yep.
slap its butt. It's just, oh, it's such a crime to me. It's a crime.
It is. It's abuse, and then people think it's normal, and that's where we like kind of pick up like that's love,
Yeah.
you know.
And we don't know. And the thing is, we don't know any better because we were born into it. This is the
Mhm.
system. This is how it's done. But we're doing different now. I really think we're in
Mhm.
this shift, whatever this is, since the 80s, something good has been happening. And we're all of a sudden kind of like, we can change this. We can, like, let's do different. So now you're seeing a lot of um home births and midwives and
Yeah.
doulas. And I love it because
Yeah.
that is getting back to how it used to be a long time ago.
I know, thank God. I train a lot of doulas to be breath workers and
Mm,
recently, and I just love because just bringing those babies into peace as much as
yeah.
possible and love and warmth. Talk about
Yeah.
nourishment.
Hmm.
It doesn't always happen that way, but it's really important.
Yeah. I mean, of course, there's going to be situations, of course, where you
Yeah.
need medical intervention, but I think like we could get the percentage a lot higher than what, like we could just make such a big change. Okay. I
Yeah.
want to wrap up with some nuggets of wisdom. So think about everything we've talked about in your whole entire life and your whole career as a breath worker. And what could you, if you had like 3 minutes left to tell the world anything, what would that nugget of wisdom be?
Um, to just try to be really loving and gentle on yourself. Um, through this time. Thanks for being here on this planet during these times. Um, just wherever you're at in the moment, just take 3 deep breaths, 3 deeper breaths. You're always in the right place at the right time, and you're always being divinely guided.
I
Yeah, I
love
don't
that.
know. I don't know what else. I mean,
That's that's
just
that's full and complete. I mean, be gentle and 3 deep breaths. That is, I feel like that should be your motto, like tattooed on your arm. Be gentle and take 3 deep breaths.
Yeah, I think that's what it would be. I mean, it's just such a wild planet we're on. And people are coming into what they came here to do more and more and more and
Yeah.
more and more, no matter what it is. So it's just, yeah, I don't even know. I just know what it's like to try to do this on not on your own, because if it wasn't for all the referrals and people like you and everyone along the way, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing here. It'd be that much harder. But when you're stepping forward and you're taking action, all the right people are going to be placed in your life at the right time. So, you know, you got this. Just
Trust.
keep it. Yeah. Just take it one breath at a time.
I love it. Oh, I can talk to you for another hour, but I'm gonna end this and then maybe we'll do it again. Maybe we'll go into a different thread or different little line or
Okay.
something. But thank you so much for sharing
Thank
your
you.
stories and your heart today. I really love talking to you. You're like one of my favorite people on earth.
Ditto. We're
All
gonna
right.
have to hang
Yeah.
out soon.
Yeah, I'll talk soon. Bye.
Okay, I love you. Bye.